Hello, I'm Tammy. If you're feeling stressed about your finances, you're not alone. Many are feeling the pinch, especially with the rising costs of living. Mick and I are lucky enough to be working, even with reduced hours. It helps we live in affordable social housing too, and we don't have anyone relying on us financially. Today I'm grateful to say we're debt-free and have an emergency fund in place, giving us a degree of security. But just a few years ago, things were different. We were drowning in debt, constantly in our overdraft and feeling helpless. In 2020, we were forced to change our habits. In my last two videos, I've been sharing our story. I'll go over these briefly in chapters 3, 4 and 5, but if you haven't watched those videos yet, they'll be linked at the end of this. In this video, however, I'm sharing the final part of our journey, explaining how we managed to pay off our debts and get back on our feet. Our journey to becoming debt-free happened unexpectedly. And the good news is, it can work for most budgets. Let me explain. During the pandemic, I was on furlough while my husband Mick was working full-time. This meant we had less money coming in and I had more time on my hands. Being isolated at home was strange and unsettling. Our daughter lives far away from us, and it was difficult for me not to feel disconnected from my family, my friends, and the world in general. We were able to camp safely and affordably with family in our friend's farm a few times, and we felt very fortunate to be able to do that. My friends and I had stopped going out together, other than to meet up in the park a few times for a picnic. And apart from going out for walks, Mick and I weren't going anywhere either. Without the routine of going to work, every day felt the same, and there was an overwhelming uncertainty about the future, and of course we were both worried about losing our jobs. I'd never want to go through isolation again, but being home did create a rare chance to reflect. We had a chance to slow down, focus on what mattered, and make the best of a challenging situation. I've been talking to one of my sisters every day, and one day we were talking about clothing. Most of my clothes were office wear, and most either didn't fit or they weren't comfortable. I had no loungewear at home, so I decided to work on my casual wardrobe. I'd watched loads of videos in the past on how to build a capsule wardrobe, so I decided to build my own. The idea was to keep what I had that fit me, that I loved, and that felt comfortable. I just needed a few basic t-shirts and tops, keeping costs down. I tried everything on, took photos of the items I didn't want, and posted them for sale on Facebook Marketplace and Vinted. Also look into other sites like eBay or Gumtree. Slowly, money from the sales started to build up. Although I'd bought what I needed, the rest of the money I made went straight into an empty savings account. Not only did I make money selling things I no longer wanted, but now I had a nice, easy wardrobe. Everything matched together, so mornings were easier. I also realised that I'd kept my mind busy. It was good for me and I needed a new project. I thought, I know, I'll tackle the larger wardrobe in the spare room. It was packed with coats, hats, bags, shoes, boots, board games, you name it. After doing the same as before and selling off anything I no longer needed or wanted, my mind felt calmer, and our savings account was growing into a nice mini emergency fund. Meanwhile, Mick was working extra hours to make up for the shortfall in my wages. On top of that, because we weren't going out, not eating out, not driving anywhere except for essential errands, and no shopping sprees, we were naturally saving money. Mick even walked to work. Luckily for us, his job was nearby. We carried on decluttering every corner of our home. We cleared out under the beds. We went through every drawer unit and every cupboard. We even emptied the loft and went through the shed. Over time, we sold furniture, lamps, bedding, kitchenware, old toys, baby clothes and more. We deep cleaned as we went, and finally we started seeing real progress. Anything that was still in great condition but didn't sell after a couple of weeks was dropped off to the charity shop. Not only was our house less cluttered and clean, but we'd saved a good amount of money too. I was thrilled. Don't get me wrong, it was really hard work, but it was worth it. We combined mix overtime pay and the money we'd raised. Once we hit £200 in the savings account, the rest was added to our current account. We carried on doing this until we'd paid off our overdraft. Then we focused on paying off our debts. First of all, we listed all our debts and totaled them up. Then we wrote a list of all our monthly expenses. As discussed in the previous videos in this series, we identified our needs and our wants. We then cancelled anything that wasn't essential. Our expenses had to be less than our income for this to work. Along with other things, we cancelled Mick's YouTube music, his Xbox subscription, and my contact lens subscription. We also cancelled our TV licence because we hadn't watched TV for a very long time. We'd been watching Netflix on our phones, but we knew we could watch DVDs or programmes on YouTube instead, so we temporarily cancelled that too. The biggest cutback we made was to get rid of our second car. We also reduced our food budget temporarily to £300 a month. Budgeting is an ongoing process, should be reviewed regularly and adjusted where needed on a month-to-month or weekly basis. It's important to say here too that Mick and I have always been fairly practical with our spending. As a couple, we've never made a habit of buying takeaways, eating out together at restaurants or having food delivered. During the pandemic, we did have a couple of food deliveries to support our local cafe, but other than that, we've always cooked at home. We don't go out for coffee. Instead, we take a flask of coffee with us and maybe even a packed lunch. We don't go on weekends away or expensive holidays, and we don't buy brand name products. We only replace our cars, electrical items and other goods when they wear out completely or break down and can't be repaired, and we only buy replacement clothes and shoes when we need them. I cut Mick's hair myself, colour my own, and don't have my nails or my brows or lashes done. For us, treats are biscuits, fruit, homemade ice lollies and microwave popcorn. We've never bought expensive fizzy drinks or alcohol except for on special occasions, opting for squash, tea or coffee instead. Most of these weren't intentional decisions we made, but rather habits that developed years ago when we were living paycheck to paycheck. Over the past few years, though, these habits have proven to be incredibly valuable. The next step was to call around service providers for better rates. Gratefully, Mick and I have always been able to make the minimum payments in all our bills, allowing us to avoid late fees. But if you find yourself in arrears with your rent, mortgage or council tax, please do phone them, explain your situation and come to some arrangement to pay. They want you to have a full list of your income and expenditure in front of you, but be realistic in what you can agree to pay. Sometimes reducing monthly payments isn't possible. This is what we found to be true when we tried to reduce our life insurance. You can't win them all, but at least do try. It's always worth checking if you can get a reduction on your rent or council tax, as there are programs that help people during tough times. Applying doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're using the resources available for situations like yours. Even a small reduction can make a big difference in your monthly budget. There's usually support to help you with the application process too. Visit your local council website or call your local council office. If unsure, Citizens Advice can help you navigate these services. Contact your nearest branch or go to citizensadvice.org.uk. If you're in the USA, however, the US Department of Housing and Urban Development offers rental assistance programs such as Section 8 and public housing. Visit hud.gov and use their Find Rental Assistance tool. 211 helpline. To connect with local resources for rent and property tax relief, dial 211 or visit 211.org. They can direct you to non-profit organisations, state programs or other services in your area. Non-profit organisations such as the Salvation Army, Catholic Charities and United Way frequently assist with housing costs, or they can guide you to the applicable programmes. If you're a homeowner, many states offer property tax relief for seniors, low-income residents, or people with disabilities. Contact your local assessor's office for details. After streamlining our budget, we were left with something like this. As you can see, after cutting payments in nearly every area, we finally got out of the red, saved for a mini emergency fund, and then cleared our large overdraft. By focusing on these two priorities first, we had money to fall back on if needed, avoided using a credit card, and stopped any more monthly overdraft charges. Set up direct debits for all minimum payments and make sure the funds are there to cover them. This will help avoid late fees and bank charges. When it came to paying off our other debts, we had two options. The avalanche method, where you pay off the largest debts first, or the snowball method, where you tackle the smallest debts first to build momentum. The avalanche method works well if your debts have high interest rates, as it reduces the interest paid over time. Mick and I chose the snowball method because the quick wins gave us the motivation to keep going. We decided to pay off the smallest credit card bill first, which was £370. We paid half one month and half the next until it was fully paid. One down. It felt great to have it cleared. On to the next. We paid off the next smallest credit card, totalling £450. We did the same as before by paying it off over 2 months. We kept putting any available money we had towards our debts, month after month until they were fully paid off. We also used any extra money we had, like overtime, bonuses, or birthday and Christmas gifts, to speed up the process. Being debt-free after all this time felt amazing, like a huge weight had been lifted. We felt free and back in control of our lives. As soon as we could, we increased our emergency fund. Ideally, everyone should aim to cover 3 to 6 months of household expenses. I know this sounds impossible right now, and I thought the same, but it's actually more achievable than you think. This fund gives you a buffer if you were to lose your income or face big expenses, helping you stay debt-free. Look into high-interest savings accounts or ISAs for tax-free interest earnings. Once you're debt-free and have a full emergency fund, you can start saving for new goals like a deposit for a new house, travel, retirement or education. Perhaps look into sinking funds too. Mike and Jane from Frugal Queen in France have a video perfectly explaining what these are and how to set them up. Go over to their channel and say hello. Before buying something, check what you have around the house. Can you make do? Is it a want or a need? If you need something, can you borrow it? If it's damaged, can you fix it or repair it? For most of you, just the thought of cutting back and stretching your money even more might feel impossible. But learning small frugal habits and using them every day can make a huge difference over time. It's hard to stick to a tight budget and say no to things you want, but these small sacrifices reap huge rewards. Be patient with yourself and remember your why. This journey is a marathon, not a sprint. Don't compare yourself to others. Everyone's situation is different. Getting out of debt and building savings takes time and discipline. There will be tough moments, but remember your reasons for making these changes. Whether it's financial security or a better future, keep that goal in mind. Celebrate small successes, like treating yourself to something small and affordable. Every pound saved and every debt paid off means you're making progress towards a more manageable life. Let us know how you're doing as you go, or share your goals with us. We'd love to hear from you. You're not alone in this struggle, and no matter how hard things seem right now, there is hope. You're stronger than the challenges ahead. Stay focused and be kind to yourself. Above all, keep going. You can do this.